Ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube world, what is poppin', lockin', and what's dropping, baby? Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the journey, and most specifically, welcome back to this video. Now today, I'm going to be showing you guys what I eat in a week to lose weight, or at least how I lose weight. In this segment, it's actually something I haven't really done in a while, and that's my caffeine intake. So my New Year's resolution this year was actually to cut off energy drinks. There's a couple of reasons why I'm doing this. One, to save a lot of money. It's kind of strange. Like, if you think about it, energy drinks, they cost about $2 to $4 a can. So if you multiply that, let's take 3 as a median. So you multiply 3 by 7, you get 21. 21 times 4.3, get 90.3, multiply that by 12, and you have 1,083. Yeah, you're spending like $1,000 a year on energy drinks. If you're spending $21 a week just on an energy drink, then it's going to build up later on. But that's more the financial side behind it. But at the same time, there's another reason why I'm cutting off energy drinks. Something I've noticed is a lot of times after I drink it, I get this really bad congestion and saliva buildup. And it impacts me throughout most of my morning, especially when I try to work out in the mornings. Like, it gets bad. I think I chugged an energy drink one time, and I literally could not run on the treadmill. It was that bad. The good news is we're going to be replacing it with something. Coffee. Black coffee. So this is a hazelnut blend, but it's still 0 calories, or basically no calories. My weight loss journeys before, I've actually forced myself to like black coffee. I don't put anything in it, like no sweeteners, no cream, nothing. Not even protein powder, right? I know some people put like Fairlife protein shakes in there and so forth, but I don't have a reason to do that. I just drink it straight like this. Now, of course, it has its downsides, like it really dehydrates you. So I always chug a bottle of water with it, or a cup of water, or, you know, some kind of water intake. So to kind of help replenish the dehydration from the coffee. So there's also some benefits to this. A couple that I've just kind of glanced through is this is also a great way to prevent hunger. So it doesn't really like prevent it, but it helps reduce the hunger when you drink black coffee. Like when I was cooking, I say cooking, but when I was preparing Jax's food because his stomach's not doing that well, doing chicken and rice, I was like really craving food. But then I drank a cup of this, and now I'm not really hungry anymore. The second thing is it's natural caffeine. So energy drinks are obviously not natural caffeine, although I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with drinking energy drinks during your weight loss journey, especially if it's 0 sugar. But I want to stay away from them just because of the financial purposes and the fact that it impacts me in a strange way. Like, I don't take pre-workout because I think the last time I took pre-workout, I almost had to go to the hospital. Like, my chest was hurting so bad. Like, it was extremely impactful. So, I only have 1 cup a day. If I'm feeling really groggy, then I'll put 2 cups. But I stay away from caffeine after 2 p.m. Back when I was on my GLP-1, I tried it out for 2 months and I saw a specialist. She informed me that if you drink caffeine after 2 p.m., then your sleep's not going to be that great. And that's one thing I definitely need to work on, is getting my sleep better. So, and I'll kind of make a separate video for that too, one day eventually. But let me go ahead and finish this, and I'll get you guys with breakfast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube world, we are repeating breakfast from the previous week because it's super convenient, low in calorie, and actually pretty high in protein. So the only difference between last week's and this week is I actually bought pre-made hard-boiled eggs, which, by the way, I highly recommend making your own because the flavor differences between these are like totally different. So, but these are smaller eggs, so a little life hack, I guess. Small eggs are 60 calories for 6 grams of protein versus large eggs are 70 calories for 6 grams of protein. So if you're being like super strict on a protein test, small eggs will be your go-to. Although, again, I'm only eating 1 of the yolks versus 2 of the whites. So mainly because I'm not a big yolk person. it's more of a personal preference more than a health benefit. But if you do include the yolks, then it does not pass the protein test at the end of the day. I would still highly recommend eating your yolks because they're rich in omega-3 fats and your body definitely needs fats. So there's turkey sausage links. These are a different brand. I think they're called Apple and Crate or something. Okay, so they're called Applegate Naturals. Usually the last ones were Butterball brand, but these are the savory ones. So they're 90 calories for 110 grams of protein per serving. So they measure by 3 links, but they only come 10 in a box versus Butterball comes 12 in a box. So we're having 5 links. So we're 1 link short, but they still pass the protein test. And then versus the little Danimals thing we had before, we have the high, or what is this? The Dan and Light and Fit yogurts. So these, I think of all of the yogurts, I have to admit, these are probably the best in like everything. Price, flavor selection, calories are the lowest. It's got a good source of protein. Yeah, it's not high in protein versus like the Oikos 000, but those are also 140 calories for 20 grams of protein. So you're sacrificing calories for, you're sacrificing protein for calories, but these are just so delicious and there's so many different flavors. My personal favorite is the toasted marshmallow, but I had the birthday cake one yesterday and it was really good. I also have caramel apple pie and then banana cream that's really good too, but they have like key lime and they also have like your basic fruit flavors like blueberry, strawberry, and blah, and so forth. So we're gonna go ahead and consume this guy and then we'll get back to you guys on macros. All right, so you guys can see here, these are even lower calories than what we had before. So the previous one, I think it was like around 400. These ones are 286, which is a huge steep from last week's. And it's basically the same breakfast. But this one's got 39.75, basically 40 grams of protein, 9.25 grams of carbs, and 10.25 grams of fat. No fiber with some like 7 grams of sugar from the yogurt and then 872 milligrams of sodium, but that's from the sausage, of course. And I think the pre-hard-boiled eggs also have a lot of sodium in it too. So super low in calorie, and the proteins are pretty good on it too. But you have to downside like higher in sodium, but when you get more pre-made stuff, you're gonna get higher in sodium. So if you want to decrease your sodium intake, then just make everything yourself. So pretty simple though. And yeah, so I'll catch you guys later once we start making lunch. Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube world, we are back and we are ready for lunch. I just got done with a light upper body workout and I am starving. So let's go ahead and make us some grand lunch. So some essential items you're gonna need are a cutting board, a knife. I would use a searing knife or a chef's knife and a chopping knife if you don't have your pre-chopped vegetables already. A plate to put it on and a food scale. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead, put this on 0 if you have to. And well, actually, I forgot to mention that we're gonna be making Italian hoagie bowls, or this maybe more like a salad. So first thing we're gonna do is you're gonna get yourself some lettuce. So this is pre-shredded. You can buy a head of iceberg and shred it yourself. Completely up to you. But let's go ahead, put some lettuce on. So this is 8 ounces. So I'm doing 3 portions. So 8 divided by 3 is like 3.2 or something. So we'll just say that. I mean, lettuce, you don't really have to account for that much. So, but we'll say that's a good amount, like 3.2 ounces out of the 8 ounces that I have. I have some onion. I pre-sliced this. If you guys don't have pre-sliced onion, that's what the cutting board is. Take a large onion, slice it up, and then divide it into 6 different portions. For this example, I'm just gonna grab a handful and put it on there. That's pretty good for what you need for onion. The vegetables, you don't really have to account for as much unless you're tracking like fiber and maybe like the gram of protein that the onion has. But by the way, onions are phenomenal and I love them. Next thing we do is I'm gonna go ahead and put my dry seasonings in here. So I have some black pepper. Again, we're just gonna put a little bit of this guy on here. Not too much. And then I have some dried oregano. You can use fresh oregano if you'd like. I don't have fresh oregano, so I'm gonna use dry oregano. But the whole objective of this is we're basically mimicking what an Italian hoagie is, but we're making it more macro friendly. So the only thing is we're not gonna put mayonnaise in this because A, I don't like mayonnaise, and B, there's not a lot of counterbalances for mayo. There's like mayo, but I mean, like, I don't think it would be good in this anyway. So. Next thing we got is the dressing, and we're having red wine vinegar for this. So I love red wine vinegar, so I'm just gonna put a good amount in here. And red wine vinegar is pretty good for you. It's pretty much 0 calories, so, but you just wanna be quick with this because the vinegar will actually make the lettuce and the vegetables soggy, so. But I like putting the vinegar on now just because with the meat and the cheese, it may be kind of weird. Now for our proteins. So if you guys are aware, Italian hoagies use salami, pepperoni, and ham. But for this case, we're gonna be using pretty similar things. So the first thing is we have ham here. So this is just a package of ham, a pretty good amount too. So this is where we're gonna need to zero our scale on, but I pre-measured beforehand, so I'll show you guys the measurement for this. Again, this is a lot of ham, so I may reduce some of it just to give to my dog, and do that. And then I'm just gonna slice it like so. This is 96% fat-free ham too. And then I'll try to find the lowest sodium as well. And then all you're gonna do is you're gonna sprinkle the ham on here. Specifically, this is smoked. I don't like a sweet ham on here, just because I think with everything it's gonna taste kind of funny. But basically all you're doing is just sprinkling the ham on here. So once it get done with that, I'll show you guys on the next step. Okay, as you see here, we have 5.8 ounces of ham. So pretty good amount. I believe well, the servings are, but I'll go over the servings, but later on. But ham, funny enough, for a pork product, is actually really good and for the macros. It's kind of low in calories. I think it's like, what, 60 calories per serving with 10 grams of protein. So, which is a crazy. And 2 slices is, so 56 grams per serving. So we'll figure that out later when I put the macros in. Next, I have turkey pepperoni versus normal pepperoni. So we're gonna zero this guy in again. And now the total package of this is 28 grams. So we're actually gonna change the unit, 2 grams here. And then, sorry, the total is 142 grams. So we got 5 ounces. So 142, so we're gonna be putting in 47 grams of turkey pepperoni. So all you're gonna do is open this guy up, take it out, and then I like just peeling and placing. With this deli meat too, it's pretty messy, so just be cautious of that. That's what sucks about meal prepping and macro tracking. You gotta be precise with everything. Not everything, but majority, so. Last but not least, we have prosciutto. Prosciutto is kind of replacing the salami in this. So prosciutto has 70 calories with 8 grams of protein. By the way, I forgot to mention the turkey pepperoni, 70 calories for 9 grams of protein. So all these proteins pass the protein test, which is kind of ironic to say. So according to these, it's 28 grams per serving. So I'll use 2 servings of this guy. And this guy is a little interesting because it's so thinly sliced. So we're gonna put in 56 ounces of prosciutto. You don't have to be crazy with it. You just kind of flop it in there. Last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add some shredded, reduced fat, low moisture mozzarella cheese. Now I think Italian hoagies usually do provolone, but yeah. So we're gonna put 2.6 ounces of cheese on here. And you'll see how much cheese that will be. There we go. just like that. And bon appetit, you have yourself your Italian hoagie bowl. Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube world, let's go ahead and dine into this fantastic lunch. We have ourselves a Sprite Zero. This is the chilled cherry lime. It's pretty good, but the chill aspect kind of gets to you a little bit. So, but look at all this protein, all these veggies, onion, lettuce. Oh man, it is great. I miss Italian hoagies, so rather than missing it, let's go ahead and enjoy it the macro-friendly way. Go ahead and give ourselves a good chunk of protein, lettuce, and onion. This will make a mess too, so we got our first bite here. There you go. Go ahead, and also that vinegary sensationalness, I guess. So go ahead and give this a try. Oh yeah. Tastes just like what would they put on an Italian sub. Just an FYI on this dish though, to be warned, this is really high in sodium, so be extremely cautious if you do make this. Try to find proteins that are lower in sodium, because all that sodium is coming from the prepackaged protein, because sodium is what keeps things lasting longer. So dramatically reducing the calories with all the proteins we chose. With the low moisture, parched skim milk, turkey pepperoni, the prosciutto is pretty low as it is, and the fat-free ham goes a long way. And if you enjoy Italian hoagies as much as I do, you're gonna love this dish. Once I consume this, we're gonna go over the macros, and I'll show you guys how great of a meal this is macro-wise. Except for sodium. Let's just ignore the sodium portion of it. All right, so we're going over the macros for the Italian hoagie bowl. 634 calories with 79 grams of protein, 20 grams of carbs, and 29 grams of fat. Now we got 3 grams of fiber from the veggies, 9 grams of sugar from something, and 3,412 milligrams of sodium. Yeah, a little high in the sodium, but look, it's something I've always liked. We gotta bring it back, all right? But this thing is ultimately delicious, spectacular, and phenomenal. So we're gonna go ahead and eat the rest of this, and I'll see you guys when dinner is approaching. Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube world, it is time for the dinner portion of the video. The dinner portion of the video. Yeah, dinner portion of the video. So today we are going to be making my anabolic chicken enchilada bowl recipe with a really nice and high protein poblano sauce. So I was planning on making like the actual chicken enchiladas with the poblano sauce, but unfortunately I forgot the tortillas, and the carb-friendly, gluten-free tortillas aren't as great, and to be honest, the rice would be a little bit of a better option just for the extra protein for it. If you do happen to have or able to eat the carb balanced tortillas, then I would highly recommend making enchiladas that way. But so we're gonna make the chicken portion of this, and it's gonna be a little bit of a process because we're gonna be slow cooking them. So I said let's go ahead and get started with that. All right, so a couple things we're gonna be doing here. First off, get yourself a crock pot. I believe this is a 10 quart one, 10 or 12 quart one, but I have this on high right now because you could slow cook it, but it's going to take a lot longer. So keeping it at high like this will dramatically increase the cooking process by like hours. So what I got going on here is a a chopping knife and 1 whole onion. So I prefer white onions with this, but when I got the onion, they only had sweet. So this is a sweet yellow onion, but you can also use red if you really wanted to, but I like red onions with like red meats. I got this guy here. So we're not gonna be dicing it, but instead we're gonna make slices. So we're gonna chop up the onion here, or slice up the onion, I guess, be the proper term. So You guys have seen me cut onions up on this channel like a bunch, so let's do this. And then get all this paper out of the way. And then, like I said before, I always take the top layer of the onion off because that's typically the gummiest. Now, like a fresh onion, like I literally got this like yesterday, it should be okay. But if you store onions, the longer they you store them, then the outside of that onion gets kind of gummy. So you more freshness, you just take the top layer off. So, I mean, all we're gonna do is just take it and then just slice it pretty thin like this. I like making thin sliced onions. So, by the way, when you're cutting it, this is kind of what you want the bridges to look like for the layers of the onion. So we're gonna go ahead and get this guy all chopped up. Like so. And then all you do is take your onion, throw them in your crock pot, separate them. I like having a layer on the bottom because all that flavor, when the onions start heating up, it's gonna evaporate into your chicken. All right, and then we're gonna cut the other half of the onion up. We're gonna add that on top of the chicken, which we'll be doing next. All right, for this next up, I have chicken here. This is 4.47 pounds. And then there's, for 4 ounces, 120 calories for 25 grams. So you just gotta be careful, or look at about the weight, so you can divide accordingly when you make your portions. And you're just gonna separate your chicken and go ahead and slam them in there. When you deal with raw chicken, of course, wash your hands afterwards so you don't cross-contaminate, because that would be very bad. And I'll get with the seasonings in a second. And for seasonings, you can use whatever, but this is kind of like my Latino blend that I like using. So I like using salt, of course. This is kind of more for taste. Just be kind of cautious on how much salt you use. All these ingredients, by the way, are going to be like more for taste than anything. I don't measure out seasonings specifically, but if I'll just kind of give estimate numbers as I put everything in. Next, we have some black pepper. If I had to give an estimate, maybe 2 tablespoons of that. Again, I'm really bad with measurements. And we have garlic powder. I would match the pepper or the garlic powder with the pepper. Then we have ground cumin. I'd say about a couple tablespoons of this guy. Then I have some oregano. Oregano would be really good with the spinach and with the poblanos. Gives a little earthiness to it. So I'll give like a couple tablespoons of that as well. Next we have some chili powder to give a little spice to it. I'd say about a tablespoon of this, not too much of some chili powder. And then finally, one of my favorite seasonings of all time, smoked paprika. I absolutely love smoked paprika. So I usually put a lot in here. A couple tablespoons will work just as good. But the smokiness flavor will be really good with the poblanos. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna mix everything together. If you have gloves, probably a good idea to go ahead and slap those on before doing this. But if your crock pot's hot too, just be cautious. But what we really want to do is incorporate all that seasoning into the chicken and onions. Get everything mixed in there very nice. But also try to make sure that the onions are on the bottom and the chicken is on top, because we want a lot of the onion juice to incorporate in there as well. Take the rest of your onions and go ahead and sprinkle those on top, so we get some of the onion juices going on top of the chicken as well. Simply place your lid onto the crock pot and you're gonna let this cook on high. Okay, so we have our chicken and it's finished cooking. It's actually been on high for like 2 hours, so I would say like 2 to 3 hours depending on your crock pot, the final result. So this is what you get. Now we're still gonna leave it on here. I like taking 2 forks and just shredding the chicken up. So if you have a chicken shredder or like that cool looking plate thing that you can like put it in and like turn it and shreds it all apart. That works perfectly well too. But this is what I'm going to be doing for the, for the time being. Just taking it and shredding it like so. So 2-fork method's pretty good. Just pull it. Technically this is pulling the chicken, not really shredding it, but whatever. So same difference. So I'm gonna get this all shredded up and I'll get back to you guys when we're done here. As you guys can see here, the chicken is fully shredded, and this is kind of what you want to see. It's something I like to put in called spinach. So one of my favorite things to order at Mexican restaurants, if they have it, is the chicken and spinach enchiladas. Now, I don't know if it's a common item they have there or not, but this, and then there's one place that I go to that actually puts the poblano sauce on them, and it is just out of this world. So we're gonna go ahead and add all of the spinach in. The reason being is because spinach, when it cooks, it welts down. So this may look like a lot right now, but it's gonna basically incorporate into here. You can kind of mix the spinach and the chicken together. And a lot of these juices that come out from the chicken and the onion, the spinach will also absorb, and all that flavor will get in there too. So kind of mix that around. So that's 11 ounces of spinach, by the way, that we're gonna be putting in this. So, but once you put the cover on, it'll essentially it'll steam it, and it should be good to go. So you just put this guy back on, and we're gonna let it sit on high still, and we're gonna let this welt down. I'll come back when it gets welted, and I'll tell you guys like specific times for what's high on a crock pot. So completed enchilada mix right here. As you can see, the spinach has welted down and incorporated into the chicken. Now, this only took like 20 minutes, but halfway through, I did kind of stir around the chicken and the spinach some. So our vegetable intake for these, of course, will be the spinach and the onion. Spinach is a great source of fiber, and spinach even has a little bit of protein in it, which is really cool. But we have plenty of protein from our chicken, of course. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the enchilada mixture. So I'm gonna say this for tomorrow, because I'm not gonna be eating this until tomorrow. But nothing wrong with grabbing a little piece and trying it for yourself, because that is good. So what's good thing about this, the chicken's also not dry. So getting yourself a great quality chicken breast and cooking this with the spinach kind of absorbing the juices and everything kind of steaming here, you will not have dried chicken when you make this too, which is probably one of the best things to look forward to. So, but you see some big pieces like this, you can kind of take it, shred it, peel it apart, whatever. Go through it, do another shred ritual. So, but also shredding it too, you get a lot of the flavors going onto the shredded pieces itself. And that's why another good reason I have to keep it in there for a little bit longer, just for that. So we're gonna go ahead and turn the heat off, and we're gonna go ahead and put this to the side, keep it in the fridge overnight, kind of cold marinate this guy so we get even more flavor profile into this guy. And I'll catch you guys when we are ready to make the sauce tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, YouTube world, now we're gonna be making our poblano sauce. So I got a rice cooker going on here, 80 grams of rice. So we got that cooking. But now we're gonna be making the poblano sauce. Obviously, you're gonna need your poblano peppers. And simply what I like to do is chop the top off. You can just place the peppers into there. Take the core out. If you want spicy, leave the seeds. If you don't want spicy, take as much seeds as you can out. And simply, we're just gonna be chopping. And then kind of make some pieces just to throw in there, like so. And yeah. So once I get all these peppers sliced and diced up. And into here, we'll move on to the next step. All right, so for this blender size, it looks like it's 210 millimeters. We have 3 poblano peppers in here. So what I'm gonna do to kind of reduce this a little bit more is I'm gonna go ahead and pre-blend this. And then you're gonna go ahead and do a little chop on that. Just to get enough to where you can actually start adding more ingredients in here. One thing I like to do is take a spatula and just kind of push the edges down. So that way we can incorporate more into here. Like so. Next we're gonna do, take your chicken broth and we're gonna open it. Pour about half of it in here. Next thing we're gonna be doing is taking our cottage cheese and pouring our cottage cheese in here. So this is a 16-ounce container. This is pretty much all you need. So just dump it in here, like so. This is where our protein source is going to come from for the sauce. All right, so the next thing to do is going to add in our dry ingredients. I have some cumin here. I would say add about a tablespoon, should work perfectly good. And then about a tablespoon of garlic powder. Again, I kind of eyeball everything. I don't really use measuring cups. And then black pepper, we got about another tablespoon of that guy. And then we have some oregano, dry or fresh. And we got about a tablespoon of that. I don't really put that much salt in it because the broth is it's got a lot of sodium in it, so try not to put as much salt in there. So we're gonna go ahead and put this blender back in, or the top of the blender back on. And we're gonna go and give this a good puree. Check up on this guy. This should be a pretty good consistency. So it just sticks to the spatula like so. And then you give it a taste. Tastes pretty fresh to me. So you can actually give your sauce a little bit more flavor by actually charring the poblanos. This is what your sauce should look like. And this is a pretty good consistency and it's pretty good flavoring too. So if you want more creaminess or if you want more thickness to it, you can use whole milk cottage cheese. And you can also, because traditionally it's made with Mexican crema, but you can also add in like Oaxaca cheese or any more cheeses in here. Just remember when you do, it adds more calories. But that's pretty much for the sauce though. Great source of protein right here. Great flavors for the poblanos. And yeah, so we're gonna get to the assembling stage of it. And I'm gonna make the second batch of this. So, and then we'll kind of measure everything out and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, YouTube world, let's go ahead and prepare everything here. We have the rice cooked already, 80 grams of rice. We have the chicken mixture here. I'll put the measurement up on the screen. We have our measured sauce here. I'll put that up on the screen. And then we have the cheese here. So I mimicked what I use for my Italian hoagie bowl, which is 2.6 ounces of low moisture, part skim mozzarella cheese. There we go. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do for assembly is gonna take our rice. By the way, I did flavor the rice. I flavored it with fajita seasoning. So flavoring the rice will give you a good additional flavor platform without adding any extra calories. So I would recommend seasoning your rice while you cook it, because it makes the dish a lot better. Spread that around. Next, we're gonna take our fajita or enchilada mix and we're just gonna plop right over there. Make sure you get all that out. And then kind of get any excess stuff. Spread that guy around, make it nice and even. Like so. And then we got our sauce here. I'll just take a spoon and just kind of dress it Try to make it as fancy as I can, but the sauce is a bit clumpy and a little thin, so semi-fancy. And then we got the cheese here, and to kind of make it fancy for the video, I'm just gonna sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. And this is what it looks like up close. Kind of looks like guacamole, but I'm gonna go ahead and top the rest of this guy off. Oh, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube world, it is finally dinner time, man, and we have the finished product here. Added the rest of the cheese and the remainder of the sauce. So we're gonna go ahead, scoop this, mix it around, get all those flavors combined together, and go ahead and give us a bite. This is what we got going on here. And as they say in Francais, although this is more Mexican, bon appetit. That's really good. So the cheese really helps with this. The sauce, I will say, the sauce is a little light. And I would prefer the sauce to be cold, honestly, because I heated it up. And I think it's better cold. But I think all the flavors combined together. The chicken is out of this world. Like I think I mentioned that earlier, but this chicken is just fantastic, man. Oh. Now, I think the cheese I would recommend on this the most would be cojita. I think the saltiness goes really well with the sauce. And by the way, the beverage is a Pepsi Diet, caffeine free, so I can actually sleep at night. I think that's one thing that's preventing me from sleeping, is I would always drink a Diet Coke or Pepsi before I go to bed, or for dinner time, and I think the caffeine in it, although it's not a lot, it's like 50 or 60 milligrams, but I think even that still kind of keeps me up at night. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and dig into this guy, and I will catch up with you guys when we start going over the macros. So here's the poblanos enchiladas with 896 calories with 103 grams of protein, 86 grams of carbs, and 15 grams of fat. So it's really low in fat. 4 grams of fiber, 8 grams of sugar, and 1,158 milligrams of sodium. We're gonna go ahead and kind of total up the final calorie and macros for the entire day. So with the egg, sausage, and yogurt breakfast, the Italian hoagie bowl, and the poblanos enchiladas, we're looking at a grand total of 1,817 calories with 223 grams of protein, 116 grams of carbs, and 54 grams of fat. So my ideal fat was 76 grams, so at 54, pretty good. 7 grams of fiber, so fiber we're pretty low on. So 25 grams of sugar, so not that much sugar. Although the sodium were like 5,400 milligrams. So not the best in sodium because of the Italian bowl. But the rest of them are looking pretty good. You can counteract the sodium a little bit by eating some fruit, or you just chugging a bunch of water, and you can kind of like more sweat it out than anything. So that's always good for that. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen, of what I eat for a week. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in, and I hope these meals inspire you guys if you decide to go on your weight loss journeys to help with your fitness and weight loss goals. So, okay, if you like the journey and you want to keep up and want to support me, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. Comment positive or negative, doesn't matter. We're on the internet, we got to learn to take it. And make sure you guys to stay disciplined and stay focused. Catch you guys on the next one.